Good. Okay, so I'm not here to talk about what you've come to talk about. You've come to hear about Slow the Flow, you've come to hear about all the natural flood management. What we do is Todmorden. What we do as the flood group is that we work in the communities, actually in the floodplains themselves. We work to we work as flood wardens, so we can tell people what's going on in real time as things are happening. Obviously, with the uplands, where a lot of the natural flood management is, that doesn't really affect them the same, but we're really interested in natural flood management because we believe that that can actually be a really good way to help slow the flooding that comes down into Todmorden. So, following the events of June 2012, I'm one of the founding members, and we became a constituted group in February 2013. So going on for 9 years, just over 9 years now, for what we've been doing. Membership is open to absolutely anybody that wants to come along. You don't have to be a flood victim, you don't have to be a flood warden. If you've got any interest whatsoever in flooding, whether it's the natural flood management, whether it's the rivers, anything, the canal, you're more than welcome to come and join us, because we want to get as many different voices and hear as many different experiences as possible. And one of the experiences that we are missing are people that are living up on the tops. So the objectives of Todmorden Flood Group are, as I said, to provide assistance. So, out of interest, did people get the flood alert last night that came out from the EA? How many people? One? Yeah? Not many. How many people are actually signed up to get flood messages? Yeah? Because one of the things about the flood messages...
Please can you tell me what you said? I cannot hear you.
Well, I'm talking about flood messages. I'm asking if people have received them. So, what we do when the flood alerts come out is, as flood wardens, we go out and look and see, and we work with the EA to give people, to find out what's actually going on. Todmorden actually works as a microclimate, so what's going on in the EA, on the EA screens and what's going on the ground can be two entirely different things. There's been times when Todmorden's flooded, well, a good 10-15 minutes before the EA ring up and say, you might have a problem. That's why it's so important to get as many different people around as possible. So, what we do is we provide information on the rivers and culverts, and what we do is when we've got problems, when we know about problems, what drains, etc., we work in partnership to get those fixed as soon as we can. So we work very closely with the EA, obviously for the rivers, and we work very closely with Colesdale about what drains. So, flood wardens, which I am one of, we are local unpaid volunteers. So when you see flood wardens out and about on the roads, when you see people writing on social media, please be aware this isn't a paid role. This is something we do because we're very interested in our community. You know, we want to be a part of the community. So we are affiliated with the EA, as I say. That means that we speak to the EA's duty manager. They can tell us if they think that there's going to be problems in the rivers. Also, we can ring them up and say, actually, we've got problems already, and this is when the flood sirens can be sounded. From doing this, from working with the flood wardens and the EA that are based in Leeds. So, as I was saying about the flood alerts, asking who had received a flood alert, the thing is, obviously, when you live in the uplands, if you don't get flooded yourself, you're not going to realise how it can actually impact on the lower grounds. I would ask, even if you don't get flooded yourself, that you still sign up for flood alerts and flood messages. Part of this is because, yes, okay, your houses don't flood, but who drives? Who has children that goes to schools? Who has, goes to work? We are, every single person in this room, in one way or another, affected by flooding. And that's why it's so important to find out what's going on in the community as a whole, not just our immediate bubble. What are flood wardens not expected to do? Well, in all honesty, all we're meant to do is signpost information to the general public, and that's it. So we're not meant to help people move their belongings as people do. We don't do traffic management, we don't close roads. That has happened previously, but people that do that, we're not insured. So if anything was to happen, that's all on our own head, which is why I always say, don't do it, leave it to the police, leave it to everybody else to do. Obviously, that doesn't always happen. You know, there are times, quite often, that the police and the fire brigade can't get to us in time, in which case we do as much signposting as possible to say, don't drive. We don't provide sandbags to local residents. So if people are in fear of flooding, we do ask people, we do say we will signpost people where they can buy their own sandbags, but in all cases, prevention is better than cure. It always is, which is where we come in to help people create flood plans so they know what they're doing, so that people don't panic, because that is the worst thing that can actually happen. We don't help any of the staff operate or repair flood defences. That's not our thing. And we don't enter flood water where possible. Obviously, flood water, you can be walking along it. If it's a road that you know very well, what you don't know is what's going on under the water. And this is why we always say, do not drive and stand in water. For all you know, the gullies have come up, gullies' tops have been washed away. There are so many times that we've seen, you know, quite bad accidents happen because people have driven through flood water that was not necessary. And what that can also do is flood houses that wouldn't have flooded otherwise, because it creates bow waves through the water. So, a flood warden's role outside of an event, I'm doing it. I'm asking you all please to sign up to the flood alert system, because as I say, we all are affected by flooding. Just because your house or your business isn't, doesn't mean you don't need to know what the state of the roads are, doesn't mean you don't need to know what's going on with the train tracks, with buses, with schools, local businesses. When people, residents and businesses, if they are at risk of flooding, we actively signpost them and help them build plans so they know what to do, so again, people don't panic. And as we find out about issues again, we signpost them on and pass them to the relevant people. All flood wardens are by the years, I've just said, and so if you were to be interested in being a flood warden, you do have to get in contact with them. The details are there, however, you can come afterwards. What we really want, in all honesty, from Todmorden Flood Group, what I would like from you is more information. We need to know what's happening on the uplands, what's right, what's wrong, because what happens there comes down and it hits us a lot harder. If we can find out what the issues are or aren't, there may not be any issues where you are, but if that was the case, I don't think you'd be sat here, in all honesty. So tell us what's going on. If you think there's going to be an issue that's going to affect the town, let us know so that we can try and find out what's going on and we can try and put things right before things go wrong. So, Todmorden Flood Group acts separately as flood wardens. I'm the chair of Todmorden Flood Group, and what we do is we work with all the partners in this room and other partners as well. We work nationally, and we work with actually a lot of Dutch students doing their studies, and what we do is we build flood plans. Has anyone heard of the EA and the Cordell flood plan that got put into place after 2015? One, two, not many. Sally is the one to speak to about that. She was a lead on that for quite some time. There is a lot been done since Boxing Day 2015 about flooding. Lots have been done on the community resilience, natural flood management, working with all the big partners, but there is still a lot more to be done. It is a 25-year plan, and that's why it's important to get as much information from people and to the organisations as possible to make that work. So, I'm going to very quickly give you the very complex reasons why Todmorden floods. Everyone assumes it's because the rivers get too high or the canal overfloods. It's actually a lot more complicated than that. I wish it was that simple. We have got huge problems with the drain system, which are the old Victorian combined drains. So what that means is they are not built to deal with the amount of water that gets come from off the hills and into the drains. What happens is the drains overfill. People like myself, our cellars then get get full up with raw sewage. It also goes into the canal, it goes into the river, and then it all just comes together, and that is what causes the pictures, as you can see on the stall over there, that leads to that. So, one of the things that we are asking people to do is, and for this, is think about what you can personally do to help your neighbour, to help your community, to help to reach down the way. And some of those things are really simple. It's a case of, if there is a flood alert, or you know it's extremely heavy rain, you know there's going to be problems, we ask you to do really simple things. Do not put your washing machine on. Don't use the dishwasher. Try not to have a bath if you can, because the entire point is keeping the water in the pipes and not going into the drains, because the more water that goes into the drains during that kind of incident is what causes, what could be a small incident can turn into a massive flood thing. If each and every person during an event didn't do that, it would make a huge difference, and it's such a small thing. One other thing to think about is what such you could use in either in your property, on your roofs, or in your gardens, such as a water boat. It's so small, it's so simple, but having a water boat can make a huge difference in getting the water and keeping it out of the drains. And that's what tonight's about, really. What can we do as a community to work together to make things better for everyone? It's about looking out, not just looking in, and that's what it all comes to, really, at the end of the day. So, unfortunately, at the moment, because of obviously what's going on, we're not having face-to-face meetings. However, that will be changing shortly, obviously depending on government advice. But if you've got any questions, if you'd like to know any more, please email us on there, or come across to the stall. I'm quite happy to answer any questions you've got, if you've got anything, basically. If you didn't hear me at the back, I do apologise. That was not meant to. I'm usually very good at shouting, but unfortunately it hasn't happened tonight. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to hand over to Stuart from Slow the Floor, and he is the one that you've actually come to see, not me, so we'll pass over to him.